take incubation another day. I'm all alone, so are we all. We're all clones, all are one and one are all are one and one are all. We destroy the government, we're destroying time. No more problems on the way. I'm through, doctor. We don't need your kind. The other ones, ugly ones, stupid boys, wrong ones. I'm all alone, so are we all. We're all clones, all are one and one are all are one and one are all. Six is having problems, adjusting to his clone status. All day long, we hear him crying so loud. I just wanna be myself. I just wanna be myself. I just wanna be myself. Be myself. Be myself. I'm all alone, so are we all. We destroy the government. Destroy time. No more problems on the way. Doctor, we don't need your kind. The other ones, ugly ones, stupid boys, wrong ones. I'm all alone, so are we all. We're all clones, all are one and one are all are one and one are all. I'm all alone, so are we all. We're all clones, all are one and one are all are one and one are all.
There was a little girl, and she had a little curl right in the middle of her forehead. And when she was good, she was very, very good. And when she was bad, she was... The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, starring Jodie Foster, the sensation of Taxi Driver, and Bugsy Malone, in another superb performance as Wren, who seemed all sugar and spice, but something not so nice was buried out in her garden. You can thank heaven for little girls, but you can thank hell for the little girl who lives down the rated PG.
And if it's rated PG, you know it's got to be pretty good.
70s PG.
She wearing a wig?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk all about that.
I'm glad you brought that up.
It was the first time it really occurred to me. All right, can we keep talking about the movie we just watched for a little bit?
Yeah,
that was amazing. That was really great. Really well done. Really funny. The acting was great. I thought it was really fun. Did you make the T-shirts? I got a few side notes.
So a couple of them, like the one.
I can't even remember. I don't even remember what the first one said, but it was so funny. The two guys.
The one. Yeah, I some of them were even just from like Urban Outfitters, like the one that said "Don't pet the sweaty."
yeah.
That
was the one I was trying to remember.
Yeah, but we made the one like the sweatshirt that Bette Midler's wearing that says "Don't look at my tits," and
that's amazing. That was great. Bette Midler, that was great.
It almost looked exactly like her.
Well, I was just
phone call was so funny.
I had always wanted, like I always wanted to have that, to make like one of those like touchstone comedies from the 80s with Bette Midler in it, like Big Business or Ruthless People, and I was like, oh, this is close. I'll just shoehorn Bette Midler into the movie, and then I can like make the young Mike happy.
Was that a Jamie Lee Curtis dig in the beginning when the three girls were like with the baby?
Well, it was just kind of like I was trying to think of if, like, instead of sitting around and telling ghost stories, like what would actresses tell? What would be their version of ghost stories? And it would be like gossip about, like, and that the kicker and the stinger and the tail would always be like, she hasn't worked in years, or her last movie didn't gross this much or something.
What else do I got? The workout class, was that just by accident in the background?
Yeah, that was just them. We just saw them doing that, and so we went and sat down next to him.
Amazing.
And so the part where she's chasing him down the street, and she's like, "You filthy homosexual," and he goes, "Your baby looks like a hooker." Like, when we were filming that scene, somebody living on one of those houses was like, yeah, they thought it was real, and they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" And
I'm talking about a baby like that.
What was the Todd? Oh yeah, the thing. Yeah, she curses technology, and then she starts typing on her laptop, and I put like VHS tracking lines on her laptop.
It had a very Airplane feel to it in that regard. Anything could happen.
Yeah, I remember I wrote the first draft. Like, I co-wrote the script with two other people, but I wrote the first draft and then they added to it. And I just remember like I just was spending like a couple of months, and I just sit at my computer like drinking wine and like giggle while I was writing, because I already knew who I was going to have in the movie, and I was just anticipating making them say all this stuff. Like, I was like, this will be funny.
They really nailed it. I guess all of them were fun to watch.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, Darren says so much cunty Mike Justice humor in this. Yeah, when I showed this when I first made this movie, I showed it to a friend of mine who had not been involved in it. And when he watched it, afterwards he goes, "So you've basically just put every joke you've ever told me in one movie." I was like, yeah.
I like the beginning, like the costume was like Raffi or something. It was like very like, with the one name fashion designer.
Oh yeah, that was those were Andy Milligan's pseudonym credits. So at the beginning of it, like Flesh Pound on 42nd Street, in every movie, Andy Milligan would say like, Gerald Jackson was the director of photography, and Raffinay was the costumer. And, yeah, and so I was like, oh, I'll just throw all those in there.
The kitty kill was pretty inspired.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
Well, I'm obsessed with solar eclipses, and I like to travel to wherever they are and stuff. And so we'd actually shot some of those scenes, just had really bad continuity, because some were shot in the clouds and some were shot at night and some were shot in the day. And I was like, the only way we can fix this is if we say that like a solar eclipse just arrives and like blacks out everything for a little bit to make those scenes work. So we just kind of shoehorned that into it to like fix the continuity. And I thought it worked out.
Had a good second title I'm working on in my head.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like if The Trouble with Barry wasn't exploitative enough, or like if it's certainly like if The Trouble with Barry is horror on Snape Island, like what would be It's Beyond the Fog? Or
I feel like Eclipse of the Abandoned Cat.
Yeah,
that's like wait a little longer. It has to be older if you're going to do a Beyond the Fog, because I think that was like 15 years old already. Yep. Something like that. Maybe not that old. What would be Barry's like House of Psychotic Women to its Blue Eyes of the Broken Doll?
Something with the cast.
Well, I like the psychotic idea, but you can't do House of Psychotic Women. So I don't know. Maybe Jim of Doom.
Right.
You have to pick some random thing that happens in the movie and make that the fucking title, so that when people watch it, they're like, why is this called the Jim of Doom?
Yeah.
What's something they always say about actors? They always like, what's a knock they always give actors? You know what I mean?
They're vain, self-centered.
Yeah, narcissistic. Like
narcissistic.
Yeah.
So
I guess what you also, another thing too, is that I've kind of been waiting for like somebody from The Trouble with Barry to get famous so we could re-release the movie in this completely misleading way, to pretending that like they're the star.
Like a John Travolta Devil's Reign kind of thing.
Exactly. And so so they end Robbie at the end of the movie, the talk show host who gets slashed up with a razor. Like he just wrote and directed a movie that came out last year called The Outwaters. That was kind of a big deal ish. It's just it played in theaters near my house, which I was really shocked by. Not that I didn't think he could make a movie, but I just didn't know that like Skinamarink level budgeted movies still played in multiplexes. I thought that was pretty neat.
Did you like the Skinamarink?
I didn't watch it. I haven't watched
it either.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
You turned it off.
Yeah, me too. And I had it free on Shudder, and I was like, still like, and then it was like I didn't care, so I watched the ending, and I was like, still don't care.
Wow, you bailed. That's amazing.
So David Assassino says he likes that fake JT Leroy title. A weird, funny thing happened last year. So I've always been fascinated with JT Leroy and Gento making that movie where she plays like his mom, and I just thought that whole scene just was such a train wreck. I was upset. Yeah, and then I took one of those ancestry DNA tests, and I was scrolling through people who also took the test who I'm related to, and like my 5th or 6th cousin is Laura Albert, who wrote the JT Leroy books. We're not even closely related, but really? Wow. Okay, well, that's that's interesting because I've always been fascinated with JT Leroy and parodying it and stuff. So,
did you give her a poke?
I did. I was like, because we're related. But I'm like, I'm a little hesitant to like go more than that because I'm afraid she'll ask me for like money or something, or ask me to like, be a reference. Since I'm writing a book alone. Yeah, co-sign alone, or like, I'm writing a book and this time I'm pretending to be a Holocaust survivor. Will you say that I am? And like, oh God.
Yeah, the lines were so good. I love the mother. You guys were talking and you revealed the killer, but I thought you said it was somebody's wife, so I was still kind of surprised. When it was
Oh, good. I kind of caught on to that, so I didn't want to tell you that you got it wrong. To be a surprise.
It's good. And I love Lynn Rowery. I had said it before to you guys privately, but I had no idea it was her the whole time. And she's like huge in horror. She got some good people.
She was in Portland like just last August for a film festival, and she was showing The Crazies and Shivers, and we had a little reunion. It was fun.
She was gorgeous, and she was like so like that 70s horror thing. She really nailed it.
So I told her when I wrote that part and I cast her, I told her that I wrote the part based on my mom and that she was going to be playing my mom. And so she always, whenever she sees me, she goes, "Has your mom still never seen the movie?" I was like,
no, probably doesn't know.
She's never going to see the movie. I'm like, she's exactly like your character, Lynn. Like, why would I hang out with somebody like that and show her my movie?
I love the cats, all the big cats.
So one of the cats from the movie is here with us tonight.
Bring it on.
Wally. Where is he? Get him up here. There we go.
He had the close up.
He's sitting right in front of, he's sitting below the camera watching the screen, like while we're.
He's a beautiful, beautiful boy. There he is.
Good face.
Yeah, so he was a kitten in the movie. He's the one when Barry's sitting in his mom's apartment and there's like cats climbing on the payphone and stuff. Like he's one of them.
But you got to get cats in your movie if you're making a movie, right?
Well, one of my biggest regrets with that movie is I didn't put Wally's name in the credits, but I put Peter Stickles' cats' names in the credits. So there's like Mickey and Winky or whatever, and then I left out Wally. Like, what was I thinking?
David noticed it too. She looks like the killer in Deep Red.
Yeah, that was what she was supposed to be, sort of like half kind of Dario Argento, like Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Deep Red killer reveal, and then half like a villain in a Andy Milligan movie.
She was awesome, and there was all that stuff on the wall behind her, just like Deep Red too. There was like an oval shaped portrait and a bunch of other things hanging there.
Well, I filmed in the, like, anybody who I hate minimalism, and especially on low budget movies, because it just doesn't look streamlined and classy. It just looks like it looks like a doctor's office that doesn't have anything in it. So I just went maximalism. Like I was like anybody I knew that just filled their house with junk. I was like, can we shoot a scene in here? God. But I mean, the most minimalistic places. So we shot in Fred Olen Ray's office. which is why there's all those posters of Fred Olen Ray movies when he's at the I Love the Nightlife thing. And like, he could have used, I think Fred's office could have used a woman's touch. It needed some more decorations or something.
It was like that scene in Blowout where all the posters are hanging on the wall. I loved it.
Yeah.
I like the gore. The gore was fun. A little slit throat with the 3 claws. That was great. And the ending was like, whoa.
Yeah, so that ultra gore scene at the end. That was pretty amazing.
Well, we had a test screening, and the test screening came back with all these cards that said, like, it's not gory. Well, first of all, they said it's too gay. And then they said there's too much screaming and stabbing for it to be a comedy. And there's too much, it's too funny for it to be a horror movie, and there's not enough gore. And so we reshot that ending scene because we're like, oh, not enough gore, huh? Well, here's your gore.
The two-way mirror scene was great.
That was the one that was the one that was supposed to be set in a gym, and then we just ended up shooting it on the set that was supposed to be like a police interrogation thing. And I was like, it doesn't make any sense, but like, did Mario Bava say that, oh, I'm sorry, Lisa and the Devil doesn't make sense, right? Like, I'm just like, I'll just do it. Whatever.
I love the gym sign.
Right, gym.
Just set it up.
It was terrifying. That the strategic gelled lighting above and below them. It was amazing.
Yeah. We just had all these little lamps from Home Depot that we like clipped gels to, and we just aim them everywhere. And
so smart. Genius. Like guerrilla filmmaking, but it looked great. It sound great. Everything.
Poor Ozzy.
Really proud of that.
Yeah.
Another Europa was amazing. All of them. She was supposed to be like in Asia, Agenta.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, just her sort of like her humorlessness, like where she's like, I lost the lead in the WKRP in Cincinnati movie, and I couldn't leave the house except to go, because Ozzy Argento would always say she was an agoraphobic. She's like, I haven't left the house in months. I don't leave the house ever. I haven't left the house in years. And then I'm like, here's a picture of you like DJing at some club. Oh, well, yeah, I left to DJ, but other than that, I locked myself in the bathroom.
It was the one time.
Yeah. And so it was like, and it would never occur to her to say something like, oh my God, I feel like I'm totally agoraphobic. It's like, I never leave the house. She's like straight up like, I never leave the house ever. Well, what about this? What about that movie you shot in the Philippines? Oh yeah. With that.
She said also, she was like, I grew up being raped in movies made by my horror movie director father.
That took a turn for her, huh?
She's like, and I saw some documentary with Ozzy Argento, and she's like, I've been meaning to ask him like what was up with all that, but maybe I don't want to now.
I wouldn't ask personally.
I think it's probably not as disgusting as we think. I think that I think that Dario Argento seems almost largely asexual, and I think that he thinks of his relative as just, he's so narcissistic. I'm sure he just thinks Ozzy Argento is like him in girl form, and so he's just like, okay, do this, do that, like, you know what I mean? He's acting her out. Like, I don't think he probably doesn't have any like lascivious feelings toward her. I think if anything, he just has no respect for her as an individual and just thinks of everybody in his life as a pawn or something.
His movies are very unerotic. There's nothing erotic about it, even though they're visually sumptuous. I think that's what makes him so interesting. Because if he was another Italian director that had like naked ladies in the shower all the time and everything, like, then that would have like changed the way we view his movies. Not that there's anything wrong with the naked ladies in the shower genre, but Argento doesn't do that kind of thing.
No. So, and even when he does, like in Tenebrae, he'll have like the naked lesbians, and it's like not
sexy.
No, it's not sexy. And Michael Brandon messing around with Mimsy Farmer's sister or cousin or whatever in Four Flies is not sexy. And the sex scene in Cat o' Nine Tails is so unbelievably cringy that I watched it when I was like a kid, thinking that, you know, when you're 12 and you're just like, ooh, sexy, and like it literally postponed my puberty. I was like, never mind. It was like Groundhog Day. Like my puberty jumped back in the hole for like 6 more years.
Oh my God.
So yeah, you're right. Argento is not sexy. So yeah, that's why I don't really think he's like weird about his kids like that, because I'm like, I don't think he thinks anyone is sexy. Except Daria Pelodi, I guess.
Freddie's going for it though. There's like this sexy kind of. He's like trying, like like the one in Tenebrae. She's like almost like covered in olive oil, which comes out of the shower. Like she's super voluptuous, but she's bringing it all. He's not doing anything.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that the actresses aren't sexy or that they're not beautiful people, but it's just the way he approaches it's very unerotic. I don't know. You're removed from it. You're not part of it.
Yeah, like not like somebody like, well, and then I guess at the opposite end of the spectrum, you would have somebody like Fernando de Leo who made Slaughter Hotel, or something where it's just like, like the camera can't stay out of a vagina for more than like 15 minutes.
It's like the original Showgirls.
Oh god, yeah, where it's like it's a mental hospital that's basically like a luxury hotel for nymphomaniacs.
As you do,
Have you watched Slaughter Hotel on the show yet?
No, we haven't done that one yet.
What did
Fernando de Leo made another movie, another like Giallo or something that is.
Of course, you would ask that when Sam is.
I was just thinking, like, why isn't Sam here? Yeah, he made because I remember I saw something else and I was like, oh, that's the guy who made Slaughter Hotel. Well, this is actually kind of competent, but I can't remember what it is.
What do you got against Slaughter Hotel, huh?
I love Slaughter Hotel. It's just that Slaughter Hotel clearly was shot in 11 days. And I mean, I should know. I mean, I know from what I speak.
Anything else that we should talk about for Trouble with Barry? It seems like the audience responded really well to it. And
they're holding their tongue. The people who hated it aren't saying they hated it, which I think is great.
Come on. Nobody hated this movie.
So the soundtrack and library music cues. So I wanted to do kind of like a George Romero thing, like when he made Creepshow. Like Steven did half the music in the movie, so he was like my John Harrison, like he did half the music, and then the other half was all old music cues from Capitol Records, stuff that was used in like in Creepshow, like stuff like that. I also used
I heard that
Pussy's theme is like this actual porn music from an 80s porno that I couldn't find the copyright owner, so I had to like prove due diligence, which means like you go after them and look for them, and then I was like, I don't know where they are, so I ended up using that in the movie. So yeah, it was like 50% library score, 50% original score. Steven was really mad. He was like, I want all my own music. And I was like trying to explain to him that I was like following this template. Like, I was like, I just want, do you think John Harrison minded when George Romero used library music? I don't think so. Yeah. And I had a cue. I had a cue from Rabid. The cue from Rabid is from the KPM music library, and it was used in a lot of like educational films. Like it's actually like a little bit more ubiquitous than just Rabid. It's like it was in a commercial,
like this high profile commercial in the 70s, and I can't remember what it was for.
Yeah, it's called it's Keith Mansfield, and it's called Summer's Coming or something, and so it gets used a lot.
What part of the movie was it in?
A lot of the movie, right? In Rabid? Oh, you're talking about my movie? Oh, when Lynn first slashes his hand with a razor and then takes him in the kitchen and starts like being menacing with it and stuff. Like, we should go shopping together. It did take Barry a long time to figure out she was the killer. Like that scene went on.
That was funny. So I didn't recognize Lynn Laurie, and I'm thinking like, who else did you have in this? Like those three chicks in the beginning.
Yeah,
I know one of them, but the other two must have been pretty big too, right? Or somebody?
Well, first of all,
girls in the very beginning.
Yeah. So they starred in movies together. So they starred in they were in Nightmare Sisters together. What were like those? Oh, and Sorority Babes in the. I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think of movies that they were in. All three of them were in together.
It's hard to remember the
two. Like, huh? You.
It's hard for me to remember which movies that they started together. Like Mike said, I can only think of their individual things that they
Give me
did.
some
Like,
individuals. Give me some individual stuff because I couldn't really place the other two.
oh,
But
Linnea
they looked a
Quigley.
little familiar.
You know who Linnea
I knew her.
Quigley.
That was the only one I knew.
Oh,
that was the
okay.
only one I knew. What were the other two?
Michelle Bauer. Well, she was. I mean, I guess one of her biggest movie, I guess, probably was Cafe Flesh. But in the 80s, she did horror movies. So she was in those David Dakota movies like Sorority Babes and the Slimeball Bolorama. She was in Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. That's why she grabs a chainsaw and chases after Barry. That was like our little homage to that. And Brinke Stevens was in Slumber Party Massacre, and she was in Body Double, the Brian De Palma movie, and then she was in like a bunch of other little like horror movies, just tons of them. Fred Olen Ray directed her in one where it was almost like an American version of A Woman Going Crazy, Giallo, where she's like fighting off, she's being gaslighted by her husband or something. It was kind of cool.
Who was she in Body Double?
During the movie, like the cops or somebody are like watching, or when he's researching Melanie Griffith's character, he's watching like some of her porn, and there's like there's like Brinke Stevens is like playing an actress in like one of the porns, like grabbing some guy and leading him into a bedroom or something. So, but I mean, it's like A-list, so I always just say, oh, she was in Body Double. Haunting Fear. That's right. That's the movie she was in. Vince saw it.
Good job, Vince.
She was also in there was that 72 movie with Orson Welles called Necromancy.
She was in when they called it The Witching and they added in new scenes, right?
Yeah. Yeah, in 1983 they reissued it with sort of like a pornish cut of it, like with all this sex cut into it.
Yeah, and they had they always had the trailer on Paragon Video. I remember because I always collected.
Yeah.
They always had like these horrible, bad, choppy trailers. I miss those.
Those were the days.
I know.
So, shall we move on to our, or did you want to talk some more about Barry? We should probably move on to our second feature.
Well, nice job. You should be very proud of yourself.
Oh, so Steve wants to know if that was a happy accident. So Steven and I were actually just driving around Burbank and we saw that street lamp blinking and I was like, oh God, get out of the car and go stand under it.
Get it.
Yeah. And so he went and stood under it and we just shot that and we didn't know where we were going to use it in the movie. And then when we were doing that scene with Bette Midler, I was like, hey, we should have her like looking out the window and seeing that footage that we shot under the lamp. So
it's amazing how you add all this stuff to put the way you put it together. Your editing is phenomenal. I've always been a big fan of your editing, and it's especially that thing that you did recently, the Year of the Silken Beaver. I must have watched that. I must have watched that like 100 times by now. Like I put it on while I'm working. It's a little 20-minute film that Mike did using footage that he had shot in the early 2000s with his group of friends, and he put it together as sort of like remember that documentary Slacker? It's just like all these characters, and he creates these little stories that they're all in and weaves it all together. It's called Year of the Silken Beaver. It's amazing. Like,
did you put that on
YouTube? It's on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it can
Instagram.
Yeah, I might have uploaded like a couple of clips from it at one point, but
I didn't know you had a YouTube. Look into that. What's it called? The Year of the what?
Silken Beaver. When I first moved to Oregon from California, I tried to start a false rumor with my friends back home that Oregon was known as the land of the silken beaver, and I tried to get them to all like say that and talk about it and embarrass themselves, but I never really caught on.
It didn't work.
Candy time.
It's just sort of like an editing tour de force, The Year of the Silken Beaver. But this is more of a narrative. Like it's more of a traditional narrative. And still, like you have all these weird editing things that you did in it. And that's what I do every time I watch it now. Is I look for all the ways that you combine the audio and the video. And I don't know. It's just really. How long did it take you to edit Barry?
It's hard to say. So I was putting together an assembly like as we were shooting the movie, and so what I would do is just sort of just kind of chop it together, and then I would just kind of sit down with like whole scenes from it. I just get really stoned and just kind of like, they call it frame fucking, where you just kind of like go by frame and just like look for what you're doing. And so, I started editing it when we first started shooting it. So, I edited it from like June up through March.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't like, but it was also while we were also like making the movie and stuff. So it came out in March, and I remember that it was like it came out less than a month after we shot the final scenes for it. Like it was like we were doing that thing, where like you're shooting the movie up until it comes out. But we had a date. It was March 13th, 2013. I think it came out.
You should be very proud of yourself. Something to live on after you.
Yeah, I know. I think if I ever make a movie again, I think I kind of want to do like I want to make like a regional, like what I want to do an homage to regional movies. Like I'd love to make my own, like Don't Look in the Basement or Axe or Silent Night, Bloody Night or something. Just find like some farmhouse and shoot a horror movie in it and kind of do like kind of a Deadly Spawn thing where it all takes place in one day, like one rainy day. So the whole like mise en scene of the movie is just like rain, like dripping down windows and like thunder claps outside.
I want to see this movie already.
I know you should totally do it, man.
All right, good. I'm gonna use that as my motivation.
Get on it.
You have to move to Pittsburgh and make it here in Pittsburgh. And when you're not filming the movie, you can direct episodes of the Drive-In Asylum double feature.
Well, the thing is about that is, so when I was living in LA, I had money to make a movie because I was working on a TV show. But if I lived in Pittsburgh, I would have money to make a movie because rent in Pittsburgh is literally like 2/3 what it is here. Like I was looking at like my apartment in my apartment in Pittsburgh, and I'm like, why is my apartment in Pittsburgh like $700 cheaper than where I live now? So I could put all that towards the movie. Exactly. And I'd put all that towards the movie. So
quickie, 6 months, you could do it.
Vince guy has a Deadly Spawn in his closet.
Yeah, he does. Which
Great.
is pretty fucking awesome.
Fred used the Deadly Spawn monster in a movie, a women in prison like sci-fi movie he made called Star Slammer. And there's a part where like it's like a gladiator tournament, and some of the women inmates are forced to fight the monster from the Deadly Spawn. But by that point, it was like starting to disintegrate, so it's just kind of like comes out and it's just like blah, 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 blah.
Was it difficult to direct a film with another person? That's a great question.
Not really, because I did most of like he co-directing with Steven. So Steven would just go, I'd be like, he filmed those when Barry's talking on the phone and he's talking to his actor friends. Like Steven shot that. Steven shot like the scenes where like we tried to do like an homage to Dr. Butcher MD, where the Barry's agent starts a slideshow showing like all these people that he's going to meet. And he goes like, stop, enlarge the picture. Cause I was loving old movies where they're like enlarge what? How are you going to just blow up a slide up like that?
Magic technology.
Yeah. And so we totally did that because that's in the Dr. Butcher. Like she goes, stop. And it zooms in on her face and she goes, enlarge the picture. And so he was kind of mostly like almost like second unit. Like he mostly did all the lighting and co-producing with me. And then he would do like second unit and go off and like film things like that. And he also was very energetic. He had a lot of really good, he did a lot of like some of the really cool shots that I like. He was responsible for them. I'm more of like unfortunately I'm a good writer and I'm a good editor, but as a director, I'm more of a kind of a Sean Cunningham, where I just pick up a camera and I'm just like, act in front of my camera. And Steven would be like, let's get down here. Let's do like an oblique, Dutch angle. And I'm like, oh, you have the energy for that? Okay, go ahead. All right, so little girl.
I'm gonna
start. I have to start this off by asking each of you, what is your favorite Jodie wig? in Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane.
So tell us the story about the Jodie wig. Or
I don't even remember. See, I've set this up, but I'm not going to be able to even recall. It was a long time ago on the old, remember the IMDb message boards when those still existed, and they took them all down, and you can't go back and read any of those threads anymore. But I got this inbox from, like, back in the early days of IMDb, there were hardly any reviews on all of the individual movies, and that's when I started writing horror movie reviews on there. And he contacted me through there. I must have written a review of Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, and he zeroed in on it, and he messaged me in my inbox, and he's like asking me, like, Bill, what is your favorite Jodie wig? Or what is your favorite wig that Jodie Foster wears in Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane? And I was like, first of all, does she really change her hairstyle in the movie? I don't think it's more than one hairstyle.
Jodie, and he was foreign, right? So he's just like, if he's the guy I'm thinking of, I think he was actually German.
Well, there was a language barrier there.
Yeah.
Minor. His English was very good, but you could tell it wasn't his native language. And he just said, what is your favorite wig of Jodie Foster? Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane.
You're like the one that she wears for the duration of the movie.
Yeah,
yeah. No, it's kind of like Jamie Lee Curtis's wig in Halloween 2, or like Halle Berry's wig in that movie where she plays the 911 operator who's trying to rescue Little Miss Sunshine. Yeah, it's like, it's just, that's all that people can talk about. And I don't know, the guy that I had contact with him because he had gone to the house from Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane now. And he gave he had it all twisted. He was like, I've taken pictures of the movie, but I cannot show you because that would be destroying their privacy. And I'm like, but you gave me the address of the house. So you told everyone what the address of the house is, but you won't show a picture of it, even though we already know what the house looks like because we've seen the movie. And he's like, yes, it is for their privacy.
That's not private.
And maybe he wasn't German. Maybe he was like from Brussels or something. I don't know. Maybe he was Dutch. I don't know. He had like he wasn't like, he was like some kind of Western European, Luxembourgish or something.
Skin cap for me, Darren. That's the only kind I wear.
Has anybody tried the burnt squirrel yet?
I have not. I'm still doing my vanilla vodka Cokes. So
I don't know about orange and caramel. Is that a combo?
I don't know if it was caramel. It was
cinnamon.
Ginger ale, vodka,
Okay.
a little splash of OJ, and a dash of cinnamon.
Yeah.
Cinnamon. I thought it was caramel. Okay.
Give it a shot now. Let you know.
Does that mean you're going to make one now, Mike?
Drinking it.
No, I don't. All I have is my jar of wine.
I don't know. Maybe I didn't make it right. It's okay.
I have some beautiful ads to look at.
Oh, let's see.
For the little girl who lives down the lane. Just down the lane, even though it wasn't just down the lane. I don't know where they got that title. It's bullshit.
That's the title from the book.
Spoilers all on the movie poster right there.
Right.
So you already know there's no mother or father there. Look at this combo of the house by the lake and the little girl who lives down the lane.
Oh, they're both Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
Anything.
I've never seen The House by the Lake. Is it pretty gruesome?
I don't know.
Brendan Vaccaro.
Yeah, it's like Last House on the Left, sort of, but it's I don't think it's as violent, graphically violent. It's just, people being really mean to each other.
Gotcha.
I love this. This is amazing.
What's the top one?
That's Little Girl Who Lives on the Lane, and House by the Lake, and Strange Shadows in an Empty Room.
That's a great title.
Is that a Cassavetes movie?
It's a giallo.
Oh,
I think.
What am I thinking of?
And a Polizioteca. Sorry, a Polizioteschi.
Okay.
When we had that conversation on the first segment. Look at all the critical praise for Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane in this one.
Jodie Foster is a tour de force.
Wow.
Read some.
Foster has developed into a fascinating young actress, and here she is in top form.
Jodie Foster has to have the most beautiful wig on the screen of any age.
She did not say that.
As for Miss Foster, what is there to say beyond the fact that her professional, versatile, sensitive work as an actress is nothing short of scary? Quite a package.
A compact chiller. Jodie
Yeah.
Foster is another. I can't read that word. Performance. Hypnotically. Can't read that word either. Sorry.
Hypnotically watchable.
She's only recently started talking about this movie a lot. She was actually, I saw her on Jimmy Fallon, and she was telling a story about this movie because she's been doing the talk show rounds ever since she got a Golden Globe nomination. And she was talking about this movie, and she never used to talk about it. Not that it wasn't, I think she just kind of thought it was a pot boiler, or that it wasn't as good as Taxi Driver or even like Bugsy Malone. So she just wasn't that into like talking about it. But
well, there's a lot of attention given to it now. You know, a lot of people have come out and said that they loved it. Didn't she tell a story about how she threw up on the director?
Yes. They were doing ADR and he wouldn't let her like leave the booth to go to the bathroom. So she threw up orange juice on him. Maybe that's why Sam did the orange juice drink.
Oh, that would totally make sense.
Great.
Is it too soon to talk about 72?
Never.
The House That Vanished was the co-feature with Little Girl and House by the Lake. So I guess those two movies played a lot together.
What was The House That Vanished? I never heard of that one.
Oh, Uncle Spooky. It's a British film called Scream and Die, and Hallmark Releasing put it out in the United States as The House That Vanished. I've seen it 3 times. I still don't know what the fuck happens in that movie. I could not tell you why the house vanished or what it's all supposed to mean.
But it's directed by a Spanish guy, right? It's like a UK
Jose Larraz.
Yeah, it's like it's Jose Larraz who did he did so much other stuff.
Wait a minute, am I getting that wrong?
Yeah, no, it's him.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
and and so it's like half British, half crazy Spanish giallo. There's a disgusting sex scene where this like boy has sex with like his like middle-aged / elderly aunt.
Yeah.
and one of the supporting characters, like who's in a couple of scenes, is the female lead in Bloodthirsty Butchers. So she did a Milligan movie, she did a British giallo directed by a Spanish dude, and then she retired.
She's done.
Yeah.
Where was there to go after that?
I'm thinking like it's better to burn out than fade away. That's what Kurt Cobain said.
Island of the Damned. What's that?
That's a movie titled Who Can Kill a Child?
Oh, I've seen that. Okay.
It's another. Oh, okay. So you know that one.
Yeah,
So these were 2 killer child movies together on the same bill. That's pretty awesome.
Little girl down the lane. So, do you remember when you first saw this movie? Kinda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
I do.
Yeah.
It was on HBO.
Oh, really? I feel like I saw it on the 4:30 movie.
You know, I never saw it in the daytime. For me, it always played. I remember it premiering on network TV and in prime time. Like I remember it being on at like 9 p.m. one time. And then after that, it would always show at like 11, 12, 1. The summer between 2nd and 3rd grade, I went away to camp for a few months or for a month. And when I came back, my mom said, hey, I taped 3 movies off of TV that I thought you might like. She gave me a VHS tape, and it was Sisters, the Brian De Palma movie, Barren Blood, and the little girl who lives down the lane. And I loved that tape. And for years, I was just watching these. Like, to me, they're always intrinsically linked now. Like I always think of that as a triple feature.
Your mom nailed it.
Yeah, and so I loved The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane because I'd never seen a movie before. Like I'd never seen an adult movie where a child was the main character. You know what I mean? Like I'd seen kids movies and stuff, and I'd seen adult movies where kids were supporting characters, but I'd never seen a movie where all these like actors were playing adults who were forced to reckon with this kid who was like, you know, telling him to get the fuck out of her house and stuff. I was just like, oh my God, I'd like, how do I become this girl? Like, she's my idol.
It was very attractive to me because I thought I was like, wow, these kids have found a way to escape the adults in their life.
Yeah, and she was older than me because so I was born in 76 and this movie came out in 76. So Jodie Foster's like, I don't know, 14 years older than me or whatever. And so I just was always like, she was my idol. I was like, I got to be the little girl who lives down the lane. That is so pretty.
Ask her no questions.
Is that a British one?
Yeah, this is the British ad. It's beautiful, huh?
I like that I don't even finish the quote.
I know.
Work it out yourself.
It was too much. That would be going too far to put the word dies.
Most dramatic role. Beautiful.
British people like to be coy. You know, fun.
Wow, that's a threesome.
Incredible melting man and the little girl who lives down the lane.
Rated R.
And not at all.
Now it's an R.
I guess they were grasping at straws. They're like, how can we make this more attractive? Oh, we'll just say it's rated R.
The gerbil scene, R.
Oh my God. Trauma.
I know, right?
It was definitely a trauma for me as a kid.
Eaten alive. Wow.
This whole ad just drives me crazy. It makes me want to go back to this place in time and go see all these movies at the drive-in. Barn of the Naked Dead with Eaten Alive is just astonishing.
Where's Barn of the Naked? Oh, there it is. Yeah. Barn of the Naked Dead and Beast of the Yellow Night were like these movies I was obsessed with as a kid because I was positive that because of the titles, they were going to be the most entertaining, terrifying movies I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And now?
Yeah, and then I was just like, oh, yeah. I mean, I like Barn of the Naked Dead. I can't say that Beast of the Yellow Night is particularly terrifying.
I've never heard of Barn of the Living Dead. There's another one I got to write down.
Well, you may know it as Terror Circus with Andrew Prine.
I might know it as that.
It's really good. We did it on the show like last year, the year before.
Yeah, last year, like September-ish or something, maybe.
I think Jen Upton was on.
Oh, yeah.
When we did that one. She's going to be on next week, by the way.
What's your movie?
Oh, no. Sorry. I lied. She's 2 weeks from now. Next week is a late movie, and I'm glad you asked me about that because I have to tease the movie. Ooh. So I'll do that before the end of the segment. But this is something. How about Demon Seed and the Premonition?
Is that the Premonition? Isn't the Premonition a Alan Rudolph movie?
It's from 76, like a demonic possession, Kathy's curse kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Because I know Barn of the Naked Dead is an Alan Rudolph movie, and I think Alan Rudolph also made a horror movie called The Premonition. So I'm thinking like that's.
It probably is. That's probably the one.
Love that silhouette.
I think one of these is the cover of the book. The one with Scott Jacoby. There, that one.
Yeah.
At the top there. That's the cover of the novel.
Yes.
The novel is such an easy read, and it is almost verbatim for the movie. Like as I was reading it, I was like, oh, they didn't cut anything out.
It changes one significant thing though, and I'll talk about it when we come back for the third segment because I don't want to spoil anything in case.
The thing. Look at the It's Alive font.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It really is.
Was that from the re-release or is that the original release?
That's the ad campaign for the original release. Although by this time it was the re-release.
Right.
This would have been like 77. So, but they must have had an old press book laying around, and maybe they even sent that out for the 77 reissue.
See it for $1.
I know. Amazing. Can you imagine?
Movie world.
So here it is. This is when I saw it on HBO. My grandparents had HBO, before anyone else in my family. I would go to their house on the weekend sometimes, and I'd be able to watch movies like this, like The Car, Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, all the good 77 shit. So this must have been 78 by the time I was watching this stuff on there. Like every time it was on, too, every fucking time.
I remember it got to network TV really quick. Like I remember it playing, I think it was 1979.
It was 1980.
80, and it was like an NBC Tuesday night movie or something like that.
ABC Monday night movie. Here's
okay.
July 21st, 1980.
Right.
I'm sure this was a creepy kids 4:30 movie week one, but I guess not, huh? With like Bad Ronald.
It could have been.
Yeah.
Others.
That would be a Bad Ronald, and this would be a Scott Jacoby double feature.
Oh, right. That's where he's.
And then who did he play on the Golden Girls? What was his name? Michael Zbornak. He was Dorothy's son.
I didn't know he was on the Golden Girls.
Yeah, he was Dorothy and Stan's son, and he was this layabout who like wouldn't get a job. And then there was this one episode where he was playing in a band and wanted to marry some black woman who was like 25 years older than him. And Dorothy was like against it because she was so old, and her family, with the wife's family, was against it because they didn't want her marrying a skinny white boy.
Very special episode.
Yeah.
So I heard that Jodie didn't talk about this movie because it gets a little sexy. There's like kind of like a, sexual stuff that if you look at reviews now, people get very upset about it. They're very touchy.
Yeah, the producer was trying to get her to like do nudity or something, which I think is so bizarre because she was like, she hadn't even like gone through puberty yet. Like I think, it was just weird, but I think it
12.
was.
She was actually 12 years old when even though Rin was 13, the character was 13.
They got a older sister to do it, right? Something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can tell because Jodie Foster in her, 12-year-old self starts to disrobe, and then it cuts to a rear shot, and suddenly you see this like significantly older girl with an hourglass figure, like throw her robe off and jump into the bed. And it's like, wait, what? No, that's not her.
She just put on the Jodie wig, so you couldn't really tell.
But the thing was during this era, and I feel like it kind of culminated with like the Blue Lagoon. I don't remember it happening much after the Blue Lagoon, but I remember there was this little era in the late 70s and like very early 80s where there was like this. Some directors were being like, I want to explore like the children's blossoming sexuality. I want to see people, I never liked those because I was too young. I was a kid, so I was just like, ew, boys and girls kissing. And then when I grew up, I'm just like, ew, 12-year-olds kissing. So I don't know who they were like trying to market these movies to, but I guess there was an audience for children's blossoming sexuality.
Different time.
Yeah.
So she won the Saturn Award for this, right?
Did she?
Know? Yeah, I think that she and the film won too. It was up against Kingdom of the Spiders, Dogs, and The Sentinel.
Dogs?
Dogs. Wow.
I don't know. It was an easy year, maybe.
That's out of left field. I never would have expected Dogs.
And the people she was up against for Best Actress for the Saturn Award was Julie Christie, the Demon Seed, Carrie Fisher for Star Wars, Melinda Dillon for Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and finally, Joan Collins for Empire of the Ants.
Oh.
I don't even remember Joan Collins. And I mean, I know she was in Empire of the Ants, but I don't remember her performance as being particularly noteworthy. So I'm glad that she's the dark horse, right?
Or Joan Collins. She got gassed by a giant.
Super pre-dynasty, right? It was like,
oh yeah,
10 years maybe.
Did you guys ever see that movie with Joan Collins where it's like she's some MILF who like seduces her son's best friend and it's called Homework?
Yes, I remember that one.
Yeah, and they shot all of her like sex scenes with like some body double, and she like, and they she was gonna sue them, but then it was like they didn't have any money, so
That was another uncomfortable like subgenre, which was like an older woman seducing a boy, basically an underage boy.
And it was always the same boy. It was it was Buzz. Buzz on Mama's Family was seduced by Sylvia Cristal in, I think it's called Private Lessons.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years later, he's seduced again by Sybil Danning in They're Playing with Fire. And so he had this little career as like the boy who's always banging the hot older woman. And then he played, the son on Mama's Family. So
I don't think anybody came out of Mama's Family looking good. I feel like Dorothy Lyman. She's doing so good on All My Children, and then just kind of went bust.
I'll always like Mama's Family, but I like Mama's Family the same way that I like frozen pizza from a box. Like, it's not that I necessarily think it's good. It's just that I have like a positive memories associated with it from my childhood. So I'm like, I'll never hate it.
Joan Collins did a movie called The Bitch, and I think The Bitch came after The Stud,
right,
or the other way
Jackie
around.
Collins.
Yeah,
I think they were made at the same time, and then they just staggered them or something.
Yeah, she's a multifaceted talent.
I heard they gave her a little space between her teeth too, in this, and on top of the wigs.
They did. And so she kind of has like a speech impediment. She sounds like she does in Freaky Friday with her braces. So Jodie couldn't catch a break. She couldn't just talk like herself during this era.
I fucking love Freaky Friday. I mean, I haven't seen it in 1,000 years, but my memory of it is like crystal clear, like love. Does it hold up?
I watch Freaky Friday every year. Actually, I watch it on 4th of July for some reason. I love Freaky Friday. I always tell this story that in college, my friends and I watched Taxi Driver in film class, and we thought it would be really funny to then get really stoned and watch Freaky Friday and just try to imagine that Freaky Friday was this like Exorcist 2 like sequel to Taxi Driver that just diverges off in like some crazy, like it's just like, oh, okay, well now it's a comedy and it's in California and she's back home living with her mom or something. And so
it happens in the same universe.
Yeah,
fascinating concept.
And then I forget, I'm blanking on his name right now, but he's been on the show a couple of times. Then he was like, I told him this, and then he started to like add in some other movies. He's like, hey, wait, can we do like Foxes? Let's say it's a trilogy. Okay, wait, where does Little Girl fit in? Like maybe we'll put that between Taxi Driver and Freaky Friday and say that she took a detour to like New England or something. And so we're trying to figure out a way to make all Jodie Foster movies from the 70s into one like series of like sequels.
They're all basically documentaries about Jodie Foster's life.
Jodie. What's the Alice doesn't live here anymore? That's my favorite Jodie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I always forget she's in that. She doesn't have a really big part.
Doris.
What?
Her name is Doris.
Doris.
And like Ellen Burstyn at the end of the movie, she tells her son, she's like, I don't think you should hang out with Doris anymore. She's a little mature for you. And he goes, I don't think she's mature. I think she's nice.
Hey, let's go do the cocktail.
Let's hit it.
Shall we?
Is anybody making this?
I'm not going to make it. I'm going to make another one of my vanilla Cokes.
The little wub who lives down the lane.
Hey, this is the little girl who lives down the lemonade. What a name for a drink. I've been told that there's been a lot of lemonade drinks already this year. This is yet one more. This one, fancy lemonade drink.
You know, Pennsylvania, famous for lemons.
Lemonade, that cool, refreshing drink. Here we go. We're going to take a handful of red raspberries to start. And you're going to put those in your shaker.
I'm not dropping them on the floor because they stain.
They stain.
Oh, right there.
There you go. Let's seal them. And you're going to muddle those. So get out your official driving assignment muddler. You saw those for sale, right? Smash those down good.
Show us.
There we go.
Oh.
And then you're going to top that with some ice. Just so it has something to shake around with. In the shaker. Crushed ice in there waiting to go. And now, here's the ingredients. We're going to do 2 ounces of Malibu 2 ounces of a dark rum of your choice. I'm using Calico Jack. Will get you high tonight. We're doing an ounce of lime juice, an ounce of cream of coconut, and 6 ounces of that infamous ingredient.
Lemonade.
Yes. Here we go. Alcohol in first. And let's put in no jokes from the peanut gallery about what that looks like.
Looks like cinnamon icing.
Cinnamon icing? Oh, is that what they call it in the streets?
Quit sticking your finger in it.
Let's pour that in.
Okay.
And then let's top that with some lemonade. A lot of liquids in there.
A lot of citrus.
A lot of citrus. Jodie Foster loves citrus. Did you read that interview?
Mm-hmm.
She's living in Antarctica now, or wherever that other show is. Really shake this up till it gets nice and cold. You really want those raspberry chunks to get around. There we go. And we're going to pour that in over top of this.
Okay, chunk.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely, huh? Who knew it would be this color?
The raspberries did.
Who knew that this would be a tropical drink for a movie that really feels like it's set
in a winter cabin.
In a wintry time. When you finish this drink, find an old woman, lock her in your basement. Pazuzu. Oh yeah, more lemonade drinks for everybody.
Huh.
Pazuzu.
Pazuzu. Clink.
I know you guys are missing him. So here's a picture of Sam from the wedding.
Oh, he looks classy. Where's the wife?
She's taking the picture. So there he is looking all dapper in his lawyer suit. I think he looks like a, one of those ambulance chasers. Oh, Mike. Sorry, I left you muted, Mike.
I asked Sam if he was excited to go to this wedding, and he said he's like, we had to pay money to travel to this wedding. I basically had to spend my Laura Gemser Black Emanuel box set money on this wedding. Because they just came out with that Black Emanuel Around the World box set or whatever, and it's like $150, and so it is like a ticket. It's like a little train ticket,
At least they didn't whack him, Steve Wilson. Sometimes, if you're not going to, you better be a made man. Otherwise, you could get whacked.
Did anybody try making this drink?
Yeah, let us know in the chat.
I got to tell you, this cinnamon orange ginger's starting to grow on me.
Are you loving it? Did you make that one with the cinnamon?
I did. During the break, I ran upstairs and I put all the, not so bad.
And you're loving it?
Well, not at first, but it's growing on me. Could be the vodka. I might get another one, but I still got Fresca, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I've never actually had a vodka in Fresca, but a friend of mine, my friend Sean, who wrote that scene, just thought that would be something I would drink because I loved Fresca. I love
it's actually a popular drink in this house.
Really?
Fresca?
I love grapefruit soda. Squirt and Fresca is like my favorite soda. So
I didn't even know there was another grapefruit soda. I thought it was like only. That's amazing. Squirt too?
Yeah, Squirt is. Squirt and Fresca don't taste exactly alike, but they're the same type of soda, basically.
Hey Nora. Anything else in my notes? Gap. Screen time. Bed seat. Okay, I'm done. Oh, here's something. Alexis Smith.
Yes, Mrs.
She had a
Howard.
big moment on Dallas as Clayton Farlow's crazy sister, which I wasn't watching it those seasons, but it sounds like a great character. She kidnapped Miss Ellie, threw her in a trunk. So kind of a departure from what she's playing in this, I think.
Well, she was, I was telling Bill, I was like, she was kind of like almost kind of like a Piper Laurie, having like a Piper Laurie resurgence of career around this time, because she had been so popular in the 40s and early 50s, and then she kind of fell out. And then she came back. She played Kirk Douglas's lesbian wife in that Jacqueline Suzanne movie, Once Is Not Enough. And it kind of was like, suddenly she was like back in Hollywood. And so then this is like her Ruby, I guess.
And I gotta say, this is a great pairing of her. And there's like the chemistry of her and Jodie Foster is really electric. Like the scene's just alive when they're in the same room together.
Yeah, that's what I loved when I was a kid. Like, I'd never seen a movie before where like adults and children would like square off with each other. It was always just an adult saying something and the kid would do it or whatever. And
they're totally squaring off. They're like this total verbal checkmate thing going on.
Yeah, I used to have a friend who I like met on the set of this movie, and we both bonded over the fact that we liked Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, and like our entire friendship after that was just us quoting the movie to each other randomly. And I would do like the Mrs. Hallett, and he would like do Rin, or we'd switch off or whatever. And that was literally like the extent of it.
I'm excited for favorite quote when we come back. So write it down.
The whole thing, her whole part.
Yeah. It's all right there.
Oh yeah. So I wanted to tell the audience. So there's 2 versions of it on Tubi. If you watch it on Tubi, one of them has the artwork is a poster of the movie, and one of them is a picture of Jodie Foster's face that was clearly kind of more of a contemporary, like Blu-ray cover artwork. Should watch that second one I mentioned, the Blu-ray cover artwork. The one that is the poster is like a DVD. It's like a standard def DVD that was kind of rendered at 1080, and it's blown up and it's a little pixely. But the other one is just like the Blu-ray from MGM. So watch the.
Hold on, I want to look that up. Let me find that.
Don't click on the one that's the movie poster from the 70s, as appealing as it is, because the quality is slightly less.
I linked to the Blu-ray one, so hope I did go.
Oh, you did? Okay,
I
cool.
didn't even know there was another one.
Oh yeah, see, I was doing I was actually just searching in Tubi, and I found 2 of them, and I was like, oh,
little girl.
Occasionally, I put links to movies that are the edited versions of some of the bloodier things that we watched. There was something that we watched recently where I did that, and I was really mad.
So sometimes it actually works out. So there's some movies that are actually so unpleasant in their uncut form that people are reticent to watch them. Like I've actually recommended the TV cut of Don't Answer the Phone to people before because Don't Answer the Phone is so grimy that I'm like, oh, well, if you want to enjoy Don't Answer the Phone without the cringy, awful like sadism, just watch the TV version. It's on the Horrible Horrors Crown International box set. So.
All right, hit it.
All right. So let's go watch Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane. And make sure you come back afterwards with me, Mike Justice, and Uncle Spooky.
See you later.
We're going to want to talk about it. So come back.